And finally, Peter, you have a number of financial stocks in the portfolio, namely Westpac, Commonwealth Bank and QBE Insurance. Given the debt crisis in America, how do you think these stocks will fare going forward?
Look, I think the Australian financial sector is certainly going to fare much better than in the US, where you've had huge subprime write-offs from some of the major US banks. The Australian domestic banks don't have that same direct exposure that the American banks have had to subprime. Sure, they're being impacted by rising funding costs as the cost of debt has increased. Also, we expect bad debts to rise here in Australia, but certainly nowhere near the extent of the bad debt increase in America with the subprime write-offs. So overall, we think that the domestic banking sector is well placed in the current environment. We've been careful to select banks that we think are going to outperform the sector in that environment. Westpac, we think, is one. Westpac has a good management team. They've got a good track record, relatively conservative, good control over costs. We don't think that their bad debts perhaps will increase as much as some of the other banks. Yeah, Westpac has recently announced an agreed merger with St George Bank. We have a favourable view of that merger. We think the merger will go ahead. We think that Westpac and St George are a good fit. There are plenty of opportunities for synergies to arise from that merger. So medium, and the strategy that Westpac has in place too for the merger is to retain the St George brand in order to minimise customer attrition. So we think that they can make a merger with St George work. So overall, we feel quite comfortable, and Westpac is our preferred pick of the sector at this point. We do favour the major banks in this current environment, which is why we've stuck with our two preferred picks in that sector. Our preferred major banks are Westpac and Commonwealth Bank, which is why we've put those two stocks in the Alpha Powers portfolio. We also have QBE Insurance in the Alpha Powers portfolio. QBE is a stock that has outperformed the market over a long period of time. It has a strong management team with conservative policies. We think that the stock will continue to perform over the medium term. It made a number of acquisitions in the US 18 months ago. Those acquisitions are expected to yield significant synergies for the company over the next 12 to 18 months. QBE has a record of growing overseas through successful acquisitions, and we see no reason for that to stop. Sure, the stock has been sold off in the current environment, but again, I think a lot of that's driven by negative sentiment towards financial stocks. The stock may not outperform in the short term, but once the market starts to recover, we think that this is a stock that will continue to do very well.
Peter, thank you for your update on the outlook for the stocks in the Alpha Powers share portfolio, and we look forward to hearing from you once again on the makeup and the outlook for those stocks at another future time.
Thank you, Ross.